Boyah has written much about his life experiences in publications, but this September he shared his memoir, America Made Me a Black Man, with the world. Now, Boyah was only 11 when his father passed away, and at the same time, civil war erupted in Somalia. With his mum and siblings, he then roamed the country, finally, after about 2 years, I believe, settling in a refugee camp in Kenya. In his youth, at that very early age, one of his responsibilities at the camp was to help bury the dead. Boyah says of that time, our lives were destined for destitution and despair. Boyah's book guides the reader through many important life lessons. His book is an honest and reflective love letter to America and the American dream. Now the question remains, how does one get through childhood, witness the death of its people, survive a refugee camp, leave everything that is familiar and move to a different country, only then to have to deal with the nuances of racism in its new host home? Well, we're about to find out. I would highly encourage you to remain with us for the duration of the event. There will be questions. Signing. We have 40 books to give away, which Boyah will be signing himself. On that note, please welcome and raise your hands for Boyah J. Farah.
Thanks. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shazia, for that great introduction. Wow, I just came back from Africa Friday. I still have that jet lag, but I appreciate the welcoming. It's almost like when I first came to the United States of America in 1993, in July of 1993. I remember I actually write this in the book. I remember trying to go up to the escalator from the Logan International Airport, and not knowing all of us gathered at the bottom, and we were watching the escalator, trying to watch other people go in, and then mimic them. From 1993, so I've never seen that before. And now, many years later, discovering America, discovering the beauty, the pain all together, writing about it, and now once again you're welcome again in front of you. It's wonderful. You know what that tells you? Life is beautiful. It's got pain, it's got struggle, but you have to stay the pace. You have to understand, you have to endure. The one who endures wins the struggle of life. The trial and the turmoil of life, you can win if you try to stay the course. I wrote this book, and the reason why I wrote this book, I will just tell you a story about my life. In 1993, I came here. My mother had 8 kids, 4 boys and 4 girls. I was the oldest of 5. There's 5 younger than me. And so we ended up in Bedford High School. Bedford High School, that's where I learned the language. That's where I learned about America. I use the green grass as the beauty, the metaphor for the beauty of America, the green grass. Because green grass represents wealth, rain. In my childhood in the valley, the Miguel Valley in Somalia, rain was a blessing. Green grass was a blessing. Animals were a blessing. So as soon as I came to the US and I see all this green grass, what do I associate with? The beauty of America, the land of opportunities. So I use that now as a writer to paint the picture of America. And also, if I'm an optimist now, I'm an optimist because of people of Bedford. And the reason being is, when the childhood introduced you to death and destruction and destitution, and then you came to a land that you don't really belong, people don't belong to you, the food doesn't belong to you, the culture doesn't belong to you, the language doesn't belong to you, and they welcome you. That experience makes you an optimist. And you're not really an American. You're not really a black man in America until you get to drive, until you get to get a job. That's when you actually know America, in its true sense. But before that, I get to know America in both ways, the beauty and the danger. And that's what I write about in the book. Before we do a little thing, I want to maybe read poetry that can set the stage. This poetry is the poetry of legacy. I came from a nation of poets. Words are important in my culture. We survived because of words. We survived 30 years of war because of words. I have nothing from that in terms of material except language. If you can protect the words and the language you use every day, you protect the soul, you protect the spirit, you protect the body. Words does that. And so it's that important in my culture, protecting the words. So this is my father talking to me after my life in America, after knowing that there's a hierarchy in America, that I am the black tribe, and others are the white tribes. I think about it in tribes in Somalia. I belong to a tribe, I don't belong to a color. But America is a different story. So this is the poetry. It's like my father and I chanting. Be the knower of words. Be the brave. Know the enemy. Know your history. Know your birth. Just know, I am the settler of the bright cave, which means he died, so he's talking to me from the cave. I am the knower. I am your father. You are not the black, or the white, or the yellow. You are the sun. Be you. You are the knower of the snow. He doesn't know the snow. He died in 1989. I know the snow of America. I enjoy it. So he's telling me that you know these things. You are the waiter of death. All of us await death. You are the traveler, because he's no longer traveling. He's in the galaxy of the dead. I am the galaxy. We're all in the galaxy of the living. You are the fearer of history, the defender of my legacy, the bearer of my blood. You are my son. That sums up the book. And because America means a lot to me, if you love something, you cannot abandon it. But you can, tough love is real. This book, America got me upset, therefore I wrote a love letter to America without any other real love. I love you, but reciprocating love. That's it. That's all black people are asking. And so that's what I wrote about. And I appreciate the love, appreciate you all coming. It gives me another hope for me to write more and to make this world a better place for all of us. And now I just want to show you a little video that I live in Somalia now. I'm trying to build a school so the young can come up with some peace, the young can get better, the one who are unborn can learn something that that I try to learn. Thank you.
As far as your eyes can see, where the land meets the sky, used to belong to me. This is the land of my grandmother. This is the land of my forefathers. This is the land of my mom, my uncles. This is the valley they defended all their lives. Their lives were spent here. And as a child, my life was spent here as well. I was a bird herder. There were over 100 goats and sheep and camels. And as a child, I was as free as the animals we have. The animals that we see here I was as free as them. As you can see, they just roam the land all the way. Anywhere they could go, they used to go. And as a child, as a boy child, a man in the making. In a Somali culture, in the American culture, you are never a boy. You are always a man in the making. Even when you are 7 years old, when you are 8 years old, the land is supposed to prepare you for manhood. It's supposed to be a warrior. If the goats are right there, and let's say, let's say a lion try to take one of those, or a hyena, even if you're 7 years old, you're supposed to jump on them and fight them and make sure your goats are not harmed. This is how life prepared me. My father was a warrior. His father was a warrior. His father was a warrior. So my father wanted to prepare me to be a warrior. So he brought me into this land. So the land can prepare me. And the land did prepare me. And it prepared me for a different reason. led me to be in the U.S. The troubles I had, United States of America, the land of opportunity, when I got there, I really thought I was a guest. What I mean by that is, my grandmother here, when people come to us, we used to feed them. We used to give them a place to stay. We give them milk. They were our guest. We honor our guest. So when I got to the U.S., I really thought U.S. would honor me as a guest. But I didn't feel that once I got there, I'm going to find out that those who look like me, black people, are themselves the immigrants of their land. Even though they were born there, they were treated second-class citizens. But me, as an African warrior, I had trouble accepting that. I couldn't accept the less of a human being. I know ruler, because that's what my dad told me. I know enemy, I know peace, but I do not know racism. I never knew racism, not a systematic racism. And systematic racism has no face, no legs, no army, nothing. It's like cancer. A cancer, just you don't know when the cancer arrives. It's too late for you by the time it gets you. Sometimes it's too late for you. That's how racism feels. So I came back to this land to try to discover what I have lost, to try to restore what I've lost in America. I'm a U.S.A. educated American. I'm an African-born American. I appreciate America. I know America appreciates me as well. Because my life of pain, my life of tragedy, my life of refugee camp, my life of what it means to be a black man in America, I'm turning that into literature now. My life is like a movie now. I'm writing about it. And if you get me upset, I'll write about you. How I wrote the book, America made me a black man, America made me upset, therefore, what can I do about America? You know what I mean? It's like, well, what is America? America is an experience. Or experience, whatever it is, an ongoing experience. As a writer, I had to pick up the pen and start writing. And my mother told me that a writer can never get upset. A writer writes his hurt. I feel pain, I turn that into literature. And that's what I've done. And I hope that human beings appreciate that. I love human beings. I like human beings to get along. The land is vast. The resources are vast. But this fierce competition of killing each other and destroying the world, I have trouble with that. And what can I do about it? I really cannot do much about it. The only thing I can do about it is to voice my voice.
Thank you. Yes, now I want this to be two dialogues, so maybe a two-way dialogue with them talking. Let's have some fun and engage with the audience, engage with Shadia.
So let me just start off with what did you perceive of America when you were in Somalia? Because I know much of what you knew about the U.S. was from the media.
I mean, America is heaven. You know, when you're in a third world country, America projects love. And so you want to enter the heaven. I remember I had a malaria in a refugee camp called Utanga refugee camp in Kenya. And we lost two boys there. Two of my brothers died there, 7 days apart. And I remember, I thought I was next. And so I remember, sitting inside the tent. It was like 10,000 tents in the refugee camp, and actually begging God, please, if you're going to kill me, kill me in America. Let me enter the heaven first, then take my life. And the good thing, God allowed me to become an American, experience American landmark. So I really thought that America was beautiful. But the projection that America makes in terms of black people projecting to other countries is not a good picture. And America projects, just like when you're here, when you look at Africa, what do you think about? Jungle. Kids are starving. That is not the case. You know, Africa is developing the same way Cambridge is. So the projection that I had in Africa, looking at America, was basically, let me enter the heaven. And that was it. I just wanted to be here. I learned the language, I learned the food, I learned how to ride a bike in Bedford High School. You know, I tried to be an American.
Okay, we have a question here, Charles.
First of all, Boyah, welcome. And I'd like to thank you for putting your story together, or putting our story together. Could you expand a little bit on what you mean by America made me black? I know for those of us immigrants here, we go through the same process, whereby you're back in Africa, you're filling a form, they're asking you which tribe you belong to, and you go through all that process all your life, and then you get over here, and you can't find anywhere to put yourself in, and you only have one choice. You know, so I'd like to probably expand a little bit more on that, and also that the audience understand what we go through.
Indeed. Well, obviously I'm black, right? I'm proud to be a black man. What I write about is the pain that black people go through in America and the pain of my childhood. When I'm in Africa, I belong to a set of tribe. That tribe is like an insurance. They actually will protect me. If anything happens to me, there's a guy called the Peacemaker that I can call, and he's going to send his army to me, to my place, to actually fight me. So there's a tribal connection that's like an insurance type. And every time the tribe needs something, they'll call you and says, hey, Boyah, we need $50, put it in that account. And you got to do it right away. There's no saying no, because you're buying protection. So that's what I knew. And then when I come here, there is no protection. You know, the protection is, what do you're lost. And for me, because my parents were not Americans, I just came from, I came to this country with a set of culture. My culture and the American culture clash. And normally in my life, a nomadic person does not complain. I cannot complain to you. I don't believe in therapy, for example. Good thing I wrote this book. This is my therapy. I've never been to a therapist, even though I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do a lot of things when I was going through the American experience of what it means to be a black man. I refused to go see a therapist because of the culture. I was 15 years old when I entered this country. So, as an African, when you come here, you enter the heaven, you cannot complain about the heaven. You gotta work hard, you gotta capitulate into the system. And either you get destroyed or you escape or something. What really is important in life is the spirit and the soul. If that's broken, your body's broken as well. And what racism does for you is it breaks you apart without anybody knowing it. You don't even know it. Bullets, you can see someone shooting you. It enters the body, you see the wound. Racism, it enters the body like cancer, you do not know it. Before you know it, you cannot sleep. Before you know it, your taste buds change. Before you know it, you're driving on the highway and you don't really care. You're careless because you're thinking. Before you know it, a cop stops you and you argue because you want to fight the world. And before you know it, you get shot because you're reacting. But you have to react. You're human. Because when you lose your job, you lose your livelihood in America. When you lose your job, you cannot maintain a family. When you lose a job, you cannot get an apartment. So what do you have when you lose your job in America? In the village, or in the valley of my grandmother, there's no jobs. They give you a few goats, a few camels, and a land, and a water well. And they roam the land. So you can live there. But in America, if you don't have an apartment, what do? You understand? So you really have young people and Americans, all of you. This book is an honest love for America. I wrote because I want America to look itself in the mirror so we can make better choices. We can make a better country. We can do it. I believe in you. but we really have to think and listen and read. And I love Bob Dylan. Whenever I had trouble, I had really hard time working in America because, I put so much love. America doesn't reciprocate love to me. I don't know what I do. Sometimes I used to get on the highway, listen to Bob Dylan or Nina Simone, put my window down and just drive like crazy, just to feel that freedom that America said. You are a free man when you come to the U.S. We want every child in America to feel that freedom. And I believe we can do it. I believe in you the same way a lot of people believe in me, that I can write, I can be an American, I can, just have this experience. I also believe in you, that this country can get better for all of us. Have I answered your question?
Yes, you did. Yes, you may have a follow-up.
Please.
So, we know that anyone that goes through America, coming out on the other side, change. You're never the same person. We all go through that transformation. Now that you're going through that, and you're now back in Somalia, what do you take from here that you think would be beneficial to the folks in Somalia?
That's a beautiful question. I take back love. I take back Starbucks. The American highways, the freedom. I take back, Malcolm X's book. I take back the Tim O'Brien book, Things They Carry. I take back Lincoln's book, The Team of Writers, how Drew and man get together and fix America. I take back, Tupac. I take back many, many things. And I see that, I'm imagining that human beings, if they are given education, they are destined to do well, given the opportunity. Human beings are really, we're all looking for the same thing, opportunities. I was just in Nairobi, and I thought Nairobi was just like this, and it's fantastic. And, I didn't see many Americans, and I encourage you guys to travel to Africa and see. I'm hopeful, I'm not bitter, I love human beings. Anything that happened to me, trust me, it turns to literature, which means it's okay. You're mean to me, you'll be a character. You're good to me, I'm going to honor you in my books. And it's nothing, there's no hate. It's about love. So I think right now I have a school in Somalia, and I need all your support in that. I'm building a school, and there are about 60 students, and I'm teaching them English, computers, and filmmaking, and it's great, and I want these young people to dream like the people of Bedford, the people of Cambridge. And I want one day you to travel like the old Americans and see the world and know that the world is interconnected. What you need is the same. Our needs are mutual. Our pain, our suffering, we are interconnected. If one part of the world is pain, you feel it. That's why we feel the pain of the Ukrainians. And that's why I dedicate this book to the Ukrainian mothers. Think about it. Ukrainian mothers are not really connected. But at the same time, they are dedicated. Because I know what mothers in Ukraine go through. My mother went through the same thing. So I'm sympathetic to that. I'll answer your question. I'm going to take back a lot of things from America. The beauty of America is what I'm bringing to the valley of my childhood, where my grandmother raised me. Ask me any question. Normally I'm in a cubicle talking to large medias, but I'm a people person, so I appreciate you all coming.
Thanks, Ray.
Good to see you, brother.
I often think about old world hospitality and how we can cultivate community in our fast-paced, data-driven world. And I feel somewhat called to that myself personally. And how do we bring just unstructured time so we can get to know one another? So you and I met like 5-6 years ago over a coffee at Cambridge Innovation Center. And we ended up having the friendship that's you called me out to come here today. So I feel like you visited my coffee shop, and we riffed back and forth. all the time. So I feel like there's something that here in America, and I believe all of us around the world need to be reminded of, is that one-on-one conversation we had that really deepened our friendship that continues to this day. And I feel like this deepening of our communities, whether it's ourselves, our family, our workplace, the world, I feel like communities exist. We all exist in community, but how do we deepen that? And I do think when we reflect back on pain, you said it so brilliantly today, then it can bring progress. But it takes a conversation. And it takes guts, transparency. So I appreciate being here today. And I'm just curious, I think, as a question, how do you see old world hospitality of Africa, of other cultures? Because I've never been there and tasted it. How do you see that translated into our world here?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for coming as well. Hey, America is beautiful because of diversity. I bring a culture, I bring a language. I write a lot about Nation of Poets here, which enriches the American experience. America would not be this powerful without the intellect of many diverse. I see conversations where it begins. I inherit words from my father. For my mother, the same thing. I'm going to pass words and culture to my kids as well. That includes conversation, like the conversation that we have over coffee. It's a great connection. The ability for you, I was in Nairobi and I went to a place and I wanted to get to know people. So I forcefully introduced myself to a group of people I was sitting. We had coffee together. And as soon as I tell them that I'm a writer, they were like, oh, so tell us more. They're opened up. They don't know me. They might not have never met me again. But at the same time, as soon as we had the coffee and we talked, and I presented myself as a friend, I come with peace. I love your culture. You look beautiful. Let's talk. They open up. Human beings are like that. You can go anywhere on the planet. Conversation, coffee, gathering, food. There's a lot of connection in that. The ability for me to look at people in the eyes is something that I inherited from my dad, for example. My dad used to tell me this. Looking people in the eyes, you get to know who they are. Because eyes don't lie. They don't. You get to know who they are, you look at them in the eyes, even when you're conversating. But sometimes here, when there's a hierarchy in a culture, you can't do that. Like, why are you looking at them in the eyes? Somebody would ask me. This is culture. This is what I did when I was a young boy, and this is what I continue to do. So as soon as you tell the person, this is a culture, then there's connection. Oh, now I know. So tell me more. How do you look people in the eyes? So that words is important. Words are important. Your life begins with words. It'll end with words. You came out, the two people get together, talked. You came out. So your life begins with words. Words are incredibly important. In my culture, it's a universal thing. Any other question? Young people, go ahead.
So I work in a nonprofit. We work at a nonprofit. We support immigrant youth, and we believe that belonging is very important. It's not easy, however. And I'm curious, when you had that moment when you were in Bedford, especially thinking back as a high schooler, did you have a specific moment that stands out as in, I belong here?
Music is what brought me down to that. I think music is very, very important. Language and music is like, initially I was just, because I was running away from the war, I just wanted to find peace and shelter and some kind of like, like come from war, death. So when you, first few years, you just want to live. But then after a few years, as soon as you become an American, then you know what you're missing. Then you ask the question, you understand the culture, the identity, and you feel a little bit lonely. And then you get to know your tribe, because America tells you where you belong. America shows where you belong. That's the reason why I wrote this book, America. tells me who I am. I don't tell America who I am. If I tell America who I am, I'll say, I belong to a certain tribe, I came from this valley, I respect you, we look at each other in the eyes, but that's not the case. So I think music is the vehicle that I use for me to understand the American culture, to restore some kind of identity so I can live. Because if you don't have identity, it's hard to maintain the spirit and soul intact. And so I can understand with young people to go through. I used to listen to an enormous amount of music back then in the 90s. The Wu-Tangs, Tupac, Biggie, Tribal Called Quest, 112. Enormous amount of music. Dead Press. So I had so much music, and there's so much music in the book as well that I write about from the 90s. So music is the vehicle that I use to make me a whole. Every time I'm in trouble with something, I listen to a lot of music and drive me hard and feel restoring. I will answer the question. Yeah, go ahead. Is there another person?
So you were saying that you gave love to America and America didn't reciprocate it. I think a lot of people just get angry and act off of those emotions. So how do you take those feelings and translate it into words and into this book and into words in general? How do you take those emotions and translate it into something like that instead of just getting angry and letting that overtake you?
That's probably a powerful question. Well, life is an energy. Hate is an energy. Love is an energy. I'm sure you heard somebody who's totally in love, they can't sleep and do something hard, right? It's nothing but energy. So you have to look at that as nothing but energy. America gives me energy. What do I do with that energy? Matters. And I'm not a dancer. I'm not a singer. I'm not a painter. I'm a writer. And not just a writer, but accidental writer. So as soon as I went to visit my doctor, and I told him I can't sleep, I'm losing my job, I know 100% I'm going to lose my job, and I know 100% I don't want to get another job because I'm going to go do the same thing. I went through 3 or 4 jobs, same thing. So my destiny is, I don't want to go through this pain again. So what do I have to do? And he said, I want you to visit a therapist. And therapist, that means I am a madman. I don't go to, it's a cultural thing, right? It's a medical culture. So I'm like, I'm normal. How would I want to see a therapist, a psychiatrist? They're like, no, they're going to help you, they're going to talk to you out. I went home thinking that he just labeled me as a madman. What is this thing I am? I'm not going to do that. But I wrote an essay called The Shade of My Skin. And that essay went viral. And my mind, I got it. Something clicked in my head. And this guy stopped me for no reason. He harassed you, wrote an essay about it, and the community with which you write about have sensitive training. It means I can write all the energy, the anger inside of me. I can write it. So that's how I discovered it. And then I sat down and I said, vowed to myself, I'm not going to cut my hair. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to bite to Starbucks. Shout out to Starbucks, they're wonderful to me. They gave me enormous coffee for free, so I love them. So every single morning I would get to Starbucks, not just Starbucks, but a specific seat. At a specific seat. If there's somebody sitting in that seat, I used to go to them and say, I'm a writer, I'm going to buy you a coffee, whatever you want, but please give up the seat for me. Because that seat produced a lot of work for creativity. So I'm kind of one of those writers that I have to have the same seat, same coffee, same taste bud, same days. That I have to set up those consistency. Once I set up those consistency, I can write. I wrote this book in 18 days. Every single morning, I wrote in the same seat. So that energy, find a channel. Don't channel it negatively. Destroying the world is not going to help anyone. It's just going to make more people hurt, more people struggle. But if you channel that hurt constructively, then look how people listen to me right now. When I was alone writing, I never thought it was going to go this far. I was writing another book. I didn't want to publish this book. I was writing this book for America in hiding. It's only my agent Alicia Brooks, a wonderful agent who said, what are you writing for America? Anything. And I said, I am writing something, but I need to reconcile it with my thoughts about whether I want to publish it or not. But one week, once we talked, her and I started convincing me, let's talk, just show me. It's confidential, let me show anybody. And then I showed her, she said, boom, this is the book. And that's how it came out. So, anger, energy. Love, energy. Any energy that you have, channel it constructively so our world can get better. We are interconnected. Your work is important. My work is important. It's supposed to make this world a better place for all of us. So my childhood nightmare is prevented. So it doesn't happen again. I hope that answers the question.
So we have time for one more question if there still is one.
Okay, but do you have a question? Excellent.
I'm ignorant of the Somali language, but I'm fascinated by what you say that in everyday conversation, Somalis use poetry, proverbs, stories, and how that connected you to the music.
That's powerful. Music, the music that I'm attracted to are music of poetry, music of language, music of meaning. Nina Simone, Bob Dylan, Cat Stevens, those type of, Tupac Shakur. These are music with meaning. It's almost like poetry or music. And because I came from a language, people who revere language and poetry, those are the kind of music that I'm always attracted to. And there's a reason why, because it has meaning. It makes you think in society, and so I made the connection between the culture of my childhood, of my birth country, and the culture of my adopted country, the U.S. And how do you marry the two? So my writing is to marry, to bridge the divide between two different giant cultures, the culture of East Africa, and the American culture. And learn from each other, dance together, write lyrics together, write books together, and the world will get better. So I hope I answer your question, but that's how I language is very, very important to me, very important. You cannot get married without poetry, and you cannot go to war without poetry, and you cannot bury somebody without poetry. You cannot have birth to a child without poetry. I'm the first son in my family. I have 5 names. Poetry was recited on the day I was birthed. 7 days after that, a guy who's a warrior who died in a war took me out into the sun. It's almost like a Lion King. But that's exactly what happened. It's called Get That In. 7 days after you're born, they took you out. Whoever showed you the light, whoever showed you the sun, that's prayers for you, do poetry for you. You're supposed to emulate or model that person. And if you're a boy, you are destined to become a warrior. And if you don't become a warrior, you cry. I read about when I got circumcised. And if I cried that day, my father would disown me completely. I cannot cry for I am a boy. It's that kind of culture. And they do poetry for you, you cry. And the poetry will follow you. So you don't want anybody to do poetry for you, against you, or in the Somali culture. That's how much poetry is revered in Somalia.
One final question. I know your mother and your grandma, Ayaya, were very important in your life. Ayaya, sorry about that. Were very important in your life. I know your mother in your book said something along the lines, forgive me, I'm probably going to get this wrong. Your destiny is 1,000 years older than you. Please, can you expand on that? Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, words makes you feel better. If you protect the words, you protect your soul, your dignity, your body. So my mother was saying that what is destined for you shall be, which means do not capitulate, do not despair, do not, whatever happened to you for a reason. It's part of destiny. Destiny is 1,000 years older. You can shape destiny, but you cannot alter it. How do you shape a destiny? Write a book. How do you shape a destiny? Write a letter. How do you shape a destiny? Go to school and get a degree. You're shaping destiny, but you cannot change it. So my mother always said, destiny is 1,000 years older than you. You cannot alter it, but you can shape it. And you can shape it by trying. And if you fail, try it again. It's like forming a company. You know, so many failures, you become good at it. Next time you'll be able to do it better. So that's what that means. 1,000 years, destiny is 1,000 years older than you. You can shape it, and you cannot alter it. You cannot change it.
Well, I think that's the perfect moment to end the conversation. Thank you so much, Boyah. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your amazing journey with us and your book. We have 40 books, as I said, for the taking. Boyah is going to kindly sign them. So if you're interested, please come on over to the table over here. And we still have time, so you can, socialize and enjoy some conversation. And maybe if you have any more questions, you can ask Boyah in person. Thank you.
Welcome back to my adopted country. I appreciate you really. And I'm going to write it. I'm going to tell the story of the book. Thank you. Thank you, Shelby. I appreciate it.